Hey, it's time for my kinda annual list of my 10 favorite movies of the year. I say kinda because I missed doing one last year in 2019. And I'll bet you forgot that you even subscribed to this channel, so let's just dig right in. I watch a lot of movies. This year I've seen 371 so far, and I've tried to catch almost every new film released this year. Of course, most of the films released this year have been on streaming only. I really miss the theater experience. It used to be that I would go to the movie every Friday night back in the before times. As always, this is simply a list of movies that had an impact on me in some way. They might have affected me emotionally, or they were just a blast to watch. In some way though, they're memorable. A lot of movies are good, but most are forgettable. And please remember, everybody has different tastes. If you don't agree with my picks, that's okay. My favorites always tend to lean toward horror and indie films, but sometimes a blockbuster surprises me. Let me know what your favorite films of 2020 were in the comments. I had 20 films on my list before paring it down to my top 10. So here are 10 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut in no particular order. Guns Akimbo, Greenland, yes God yes. Palm Springs, Relic, A Short History of the Long Road, Emma, The Lodge, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and The Babysitter 2, Killer Queen. I was reading in Fangoria magazine where director Christopher Landon wanted to title this movie Freaky Friday the 13th, but ended up not wanting everybody to sue him. But really, that's a great title to sum up the concept of this movie. It's a body swap horror comedy where a teen girl changes bodies with a serial killer and has 24 hours to get back. It's just a blast watching Vince Vaughn taking on the mannerisms of a high school girl. It's funny and it's gory. Christopher Landon made the Happy Death Day movies, and there's rumors that Freaky takes place in the same cinematic universe. I hope there's more to come. Soul just came out on Disney Plus, and it's Pixar once again at the top of its game. It's melancholic, sweet, and very existential. It kind of demands a second viewing. I'm still letting it all sink in. Jamie Foxx plays a jazz musician who is unexpectedly forced to look at his life and try to discover if it has any purpose or meaning. It's a little similar to Inside Out, which was my favorite Pixar movie, but it's much more introspective. It explores the question of what defines a life. Soul demands your attention, but has just the right amount of comedy, mostly by Tina Fey, to help keep it moving along. Oz Perkins, the son of Anthony Perkins, is becoming one of my favorite directors. I just loved his movie The Black Coat's Daughter from 2015, and Gretel and Hansel has kind of a similar vibe. He loves to create these dark and foreboding atmospheres with super low-key dialogue. Gretel and Hansel is a retelling of the fairy tale we all know, but this time focusing on Gretel, who is trying to survive alone in the countryside with her young brother Hansel. Of course, they encounter a witch in the forest whose evil intentions force Gretel to face her transition into adulthood. It's a brooding, moody, coming-of-age story that requires some patience, but it pays off in the end. I remember Lulu Wilson from Annabelle Creation and Ouija, The Origin of Evil, and in Becky, she gets a chance to completely kick ass. In kind of an unexpected role, Kevin James plays the leader of some escaped convicts who want a certain key that Becky has. It turns into a revenge thriller as Becky resists their attacks. It's bloody and it's fun. It's sort of like a more brutal Home Alone with a little bit better pacing. So you might have heard the expression that horse girls are crazy. In Horse Girl, a socially awkward woman starts to lose her grip on reality. It's a bizarre story that had me wondering if her belief in aliens in her surreal dreams might be real. Horse Girl has nothing to do with horses. It's more of a look into a person's life who seems to be losing touch with reality. It's funny in parts, but ultimately kind of sad. Okay, Brandon Cronenberg seems to be taking the reins from his dad, David Cronenberg, as the king of body horror. Possessor is about a secret agent working for a company that uses brain implants to control other people's bodies and use them as assassins. It's a mind-bending nightmare of a film that left me speechless after the first time I viewed it, so I actually had to watch it again the next day to let it all sink in. It's a disturbing mindscape that just kind of gets under your skin. Vast of Night is an outstanding low-budget achievement. This is the kind of science fiction I love, reminiscent of some of the more thought-provoking episodes of The Twilight Zone or Star Trek: The Next Generation. It takes place in a small town in the 1950s that seems to be receiving transmissions from a UFO. That premise alone might sound corny, but the story relies on the chemistry between its two leads to carry it. And it's so much fun watching basically nothing happen, but with the witty dialogue, great acting, and just eye-popping cinematography, Vast of Night captured my attention from the very beginning and kept me constantly wondering what would happen next. It's charming and it's fun. Joe Begos is another of my favorite young directors. I loved last year's Bliss, and VFW ramps up that same over-the-top frenetic action. It's all about a small group of war vets defending their VFW post from hordes of drug-crazed young punks. It's a low-budget film reminiscent of 80s classics, Escape from New York, and The Warriors. In fact, you'll probably recognize these veteran 80s actors. It's so much fun to watch a ragtag group of old dudes just kicking ass. There's no complicated plot or story here, it's just non-stop action. I've seen VFW 3 times. Swallow was my most unexpected discovery of the year. I was expecting it to be more of a popcorn exploitation flick about a woman who eats weird things. And well, yeah, she does eat weird things, but it turned out to be more of a tense psychological thriller about a woman with pica, which is a very real mental condition that compels people who suffer from it to eat foreign objects. There's parts of it that'll make you cringe, but Swallow takes the subject seriously and examines the reasons why Hunter, the main character, is afflicted with pica. Haley Bennett delivers a sad, disturbing, emotional portrayal of a woman who has no control over anything in her life but finds herself empowered by the bizarre things that she ingests. Host is a groundbreaking movie made in the early days of the quarantine and filmed completely on Zoom. I don't know how this film is going to be thought of in the years to come. It'll probably look dated in just a year, but in 2020, this was the movie I needed, something unique. In Host, a group of friends meet on a Zoom call to hold an online seance, and weird things begin to happen. It uses a video conference call to flesh out an incredibly tense and scary movie in a completely natural way. I was totally on board with the premise, and I was on the edge of my seat, and I'm totally desensitized to scary movies. This is a new way of storytelling made without the expectation of a theater presentation. It's just under an hour long, and it's probably best viewed on a laptop computer as if it were an actual Zoom call. The fact that this group of people managed to pull this off and get this made in just a couple of months while isolating in separate locations is mind-boggling. It's a testament to the power of movie making and creation in the most challenging of situations. Finally, I'd like to include my other #1 movie of 2020, The Queen's Gambit. The line between movies and TV is blurring, even more so this year. The Queen's Gambit is a 7-part limited series on Netflix, but it's not as episodic as a traditional TV show. We're entering an era where stories don't have to conform to any particular length. A movie like Host can tell its story in 57 minutes, knowing that it doesn't have to stretch to make it acceptable for a movie theater presentation and those demands. Queen's Gambit needed 6.5 hours to tell its story and divided it into 7 parts for easier consumption, just like chapters in a novel. it wouldn't have been effective if it were condensed into a 2-hour feature-length movie. So maybe The Queen's Gambit doesn't technically qualify as my favorite movie of the year, but it's my favorite story of the year. It's about Beth Harmon, a child chess prodigy who becomes a grand master. It's a fascinating character study about a person who is singularly focused on one thing. The supporting cast is great, and the chess matches are filmed in a way that really makes them exciting. You don't have to know anything about chess to love this movie. And just when I thought I knew where the story was going, it went a different direction. It's a rare story that has no villains beyond the inner demons that Beth is forced to confront with herself. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next year. Well, hopefully I'll see you over on my main channel, too.